sing or speak about Easter week, or the heroes of '98, of the Fenian men who roamed the glen in victory or defeat. Down on the page of a bygone age, their story will be told, but not a song was sung of our darling sons in the valley of Knockannor. There was Walsh and Lyons and the Dalton boys. They were young and in their prime, as they rambled to a lonesome spot where the black and tans did lie. The Republic bold they did uphold, though outlawed on the moor, and side by side they fought and died in the valley of Knockannor.
On October 28, 1987, two Derry city volunteers, Eddie McSheffrey and Patrick Deery, were killed when a bomb they were carrying in a car exploded prematurely. There was some suspicion at the time that the bomb had been tampered with before being placed in the car. Both men had spent many hours in RUC custody. Patrick went on the run to the south. He was extradited back to the north a year before he died. Eddie was arrested and charged at least 4 times. He was only 13 years of age the first time he was arrested and sent to Millal Borstal. He spent many years in jail on trumped-up charges. The Deery family were well known in Derry, as was the McSheffrey family. Manus Deery, a first cousin of Patrick, was shot and killed by a British soldier on May 19, 1972. He was walking home to Limewood Street in the Bogside from a fish and chip shop when he was shot dead by a British Army sniper who was situated on the Derry walls. On the afternoon of Wednesday, October 28, 1987, a loud explosion was heard in the Crowmore Gardens area of Cregan. The blast ripped through a car being driven by the 2 IRA volunteers. They were transporting a bomb to an unidentified target when it exploded prematurely. They were rushed to hospital but were dead on arrival. The car had been hijacked earlier that morning. Shortly after the blast, the remains of the vehicle were set on fire by a number of men. The IRA then released a statement saying both of the men were IRA volunteers and had been on active service at the time of their deaths. They were the last members of the Derry Brigade of the IRA to die on active service on the streets of Derry. Both men were well known in Republican circles in Derry and had grown up as the troubles escalated. Both had direct experience of the conflict since childhood, which no doubt influenced their decision to join the IRA. 31-year-old Patrick Deery from Glenowen Park in the city was a member of a well-known Derry Republican family. His mother, Peggy, was seriously wounded by British Army paratroopers on Bloody Sunday in 1972, and in the years that followed, the family home was regularly raided by British soldiers and the RUC. Patrick himself also suffered at the hands of British soldiers when he lost an eye, after being hit by a rubber bullet when he was 15 years old. Eddie McSheffrey also came from a well-known Republican family and was no stranger to the troubles. In 1972, the McSheffrey family had a narrow escape when an explosion which killed 2 IRA men, John Brady and Jimmy Carr, destroyed their Meenan Park home. Eddie was first arrested when he was 11 years old. Also, his father was interned in Long Kesh for a time. As a teenager, he spent 2 years in jail after being convicted of membership of Na Fianna Éireann, the youth wing of the IRA. He was also held on remand on the word of Derry super grass Raymond Gilmore until the informer's evidence was thrown out of court in December 1984. He immediately became re-involved in IRA activities, and in August 1985 he sustained leg injuries in a bomb blast at William Street, in which 20-year-old IRA volunteer Charles English was killed, while attempting to launch an attack on a passing RUC patrol. Eddie was arrested and taken to hospital before being transferred to Musgrave Park Hospital, where he was charged with conspiring to kill members of the RUC. He spent a considerable time on remand in Crumlin Road Jail before the charges were eventually dropped. The funerals of the 2 volunteers in Derry witnessed the brutal attack by the RUC on the cortege and the mourners as they made their way from the cathedral to the city cemetery. Thatcher and the Tory party were in power, and it was clear they were going all out, using every means at their disposal to defeat the rebellion against the British state in Ireland. The funerals also brought mourners into conflict with Catholic Church authorities. Following a previous IRA funeral, during which a volley of shots was fired within the precincts of St. Columba's Church, Long Tower, the then Bishop of Derry, Dr. Edward Daly, said, "The remains of IRA volunteers should not be allowed inside churches during Requiem Mass." The McSheffrey and Deery families appealed to the bishop to lift the ban and allow the coffins into St. Eugene's Cathedral during the Requiem Mass. The funerals had been due to take place on the Saturday, but the families decided to postpone them until Monday and asked the bishop to reconsider. But Dr. Daly reaffirmed his position. However, the coffins were eventually allowed into the cathedral on Monday for Requiem Mass. After Mass, the coffins remained in the grounds of the cathedral for almost 4 hours while protracted negotiations took place between priests and the RUC. The families said the funeral should not proceed until the RUC gave assurances they would maintain a reasonable distance from the cortege. The funeral procession finally left the cathedral at 2:30 p.m. and made its way slowly towards the city cemetery. At 3:20 p.m., a volley of shots was fired between the 2 coffins. Trouble flared when the RUC moved in to surround the mourners, and the cortege was delayed for 10 minutes as police tried to flank the coffins. Pallbearers were jostled, and the coffin of Eddie McSheffrey was almost knocked to the ground on 2 occasions. As mourners tried to keep the police back, several plastic bullets were fired, and the RUC baton charged the crowd. At least 20 people were injured and had to be taken to the hospital. Their names are blessed, their Keowan sung. Our bitter tears are dried. We bury sorrow in their graves, patience we cast aside. Within the gloom we hear a voice that once was ours to know. 'Tis freedom, freedom calling loud. Arise!
And the banshee cried as our sons they died in the valley of Knock